Hello everyone. Welcome to the first part of second lecture of ENV 103. And this lecture is on hydrosphere. At first, we need to know what we will learn from this lecture. We will start from the definition of hydrosphere. Then, relationship among different spheres, structure of hydrosphere, hydrologic cycle, importance of hydrologic cycle, processes of hydrologic cycle, and impacts of human activities on hydrologic cycle. There are different spheres of environment: atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, and biosphere. We will learn about all of them in different lectures. So what is the definition of atmosphere? This is the thin gaseous envelope surrounding Earth's surface. It is composed of different types of gases. And lithosphere, that is the solid, rigid part of Earth's surface where we are standing on. Sometimes we say that it is the crust. And the hydrosphere, it includes any form of water. And about 71% of Earth's surface is covered by water. And what about the last one, that is biosphere? That is the total of hydrosphere, atmosphere, or lithosphere. That part of hydrosphere, lithosphere, or atmosphere will be included in biosphere, where bio elements can survive. Plant, animal survival is possible. That will be considered as biosphere. Hydrosphere includes all forms of water, like solid, liquid, or gaseous form of water. Study of hydrosphere is very much important for us because about two-thirds of Earth's surface is covered by water. Water of the hydrosphere exists in three states: liquid, solid, and gaseous. The most common state is the liquid state, that is the river water, ocean water, lakes, ponds, etc. And the solid forms of water like icebergs, glaciers, polar ice, or mountain caps. And what about gaseous form of water like water moisture or water vapor? The structure of hydrosphere. About 96.5% of water is present as ocean or sea water, and only 3.5% of it is present as fresh water. And that's why we say that water everywhere, not a drop to drink, because for maximum purposes we need fresh water. And subdivision of that 3.5% fresh water, that is 1.7% is present as ice, and 1.7% is present as groundwater. So think about them. We cannot easily use them because we need to melt the ice first and then we can use it. And in case of groundwater, we need to establish tube well, we need to extract it, then we can use it. So they are not easily usable form. And the surface fresh water, that is only 0.014%. This is the form of water from where we can get fresh water easily. That is the pond water or river water. And a very tiny portion of it is uh, present as atmospheric water and soil water, that is 0.002%. So a part of water is present as water moisture or water vapor, and a part of it is incorporated into the soil and present as soil water. Here are some solid forms of water. Look at the pictures. The first one is a picture of iceberg and the second one is glacier. So what is iceberg? An iceberg is a large piece of freshwater ice that has broken off a glacier or an ice shelf and is floating freely in open air. Even though icebergs are floating in salt water, the ice has no salt. It's compressed snow. If you melt icebergs, you will get fresh water from it. Can you remember the movie Titanic? In that movie, there was a collision between iceberg and Titanic. And the glacier, what is glacier? Glaciers begin to form when snow remains in the same area year round, where enough snow accumulates to transform into ice. Each year, new layers of snow bury and compress the previous layers. So, any large mass of ice that moves slowly over land is known as glacier. Mostly glaciers are found in Antarctica and Greenland, but they are also found in every continent of the world. And the last one, that is permafrost. What is permafrost? Permafrost is the ground that continuously remains frozen for 2 or more years, located on land or under the sea. That is permafrost. They are common in regions with high mountainous region and in higher latitude regions, like near the polar region, near the North Pole or South Pole. The hydrologic cycle. The water cycle is also known as hydrologic cycle or hydrological cycle. It describes the continuous movement of water on, above, and below the surface of the earth. The water moves from one reservoir to another, such as from river to ocean or from ocean to the atmosphere, by the physical processes of evaporation, condensation, precipitation, infiltration, surface runoff, and subsurface flow. In doing so, the water goes through different forms, like liquid, solid, or vapor form. Earth is not the only planet to contain water, but conditions on Earth are particularly suitable for the continuous cycling of water, which in turn drives many other important systems. The hydrological cycle is a continuous recycling of water among atmosphere, land, and oceans. The hydrological cycle involves the exchange of energy, which leads to temperature changes. Like whenever there is evaporation, it takes up energy from its surroundings and cools the environment. And whenever there is condensation, it releases energy and warms the environment. These heat exchanges influence climate. The evaporation phase of the cycle purifies water, which then replenishes the land with fresh water. The flow of liquid water and ice transports minerals across the globe. It is also involved in reshaping the geological features of Earth by the process of erosion and sedimentation. The hydrologic cycle is also essential for the maintenance of most life and ecosystems on the planet. This is the diagram of hydrologic cycle. There are different processes involved in hydrologic cycle, like evaporation, transpiration, evapotranspiration, condensation, precipitation, interception, infiltration, runoff, and groundwater flow. So there are different processes involved here. So from where we can start? Which one is the starting point of hydrologic cycle? Actually, there is no starting or ending point of hydrologic cycle. All the processes of hydrologic cycle are going on simultaneously, and it's a continuous process and it's a closed loop. So there is no starting or ending point. Just remember that from where you are starting, you need to finish at that point so that it makes a closed loop. For our explanation, we will start from evaporation. Solar radiation. The sun is the driving force of hydrologic cycle. Due to solar radiation, water is getting evaporated from the ocean, from rivers, lakes, ponds, land surface, and from mountainous region. It mixes up with atmosphere. At the same time, there is another type of evaporation, that is evaporation from trees or vegetation cover. And that specific type of evaporation is known as transpiration. So evaporation from ocean, rivers, lakes, ponds, and evaporation from plants altogether forms evapotranspiration. So the total amount of water coming from evaporation and transpiration is known as evapotranspiration. So the water becomes saturated, and the water moisture, whenever it goes up, when the air goes up, it becomes cold, because whenever we go up, the temperature falls. So whenever it goes up, it becomes condensed, and that is the process of condensation. So after condensation, what will happen? The huge amount of cloud. So air cannot bear that huge bulky amount of cloud, and due to gravity, it will fall down to Earth's surface. And any fall due to gravity is known as precipitation. Any fall due to gravity. There are different forms of precipitation. Like in tropical countries like ours, the most common form of precipitation is rainfall. But there are other forms of precipitations too, like snowfall, fog, dew, etc. So during precipitation, whenever there is precipitation, a big part of it goes directly to the soil, and that process is known as infiltration. That is seepage of water directly by soil. That is known as infiltration. Another process during precipitation, that is the absorption of water by trees. That part of water is known as interception. So absorption of water by trees or absorption of water by built up region. That is obstacle to infiltration. Maybe it's a building structure or road structure, or vegetation cover, whatever. That is interception. And a huge amount of water is flowing, and it is finding its way to the ocean. That part of water is known as runoff, from mountain to land surface to ocean, river, ocean. That is runoff. That is another process of hydrologic cycle. And finally, all the water coming from precipitation is stored as groundwater due to infiltration process. That is the groundwater, another step of hydrologic cycle. So that is the end of hydrologic cycle. Different processes of hydrologic cycle. Evaporation. It takes place due to heat. Water from oceans, seas and water surfaces on land such as rivers, lakes, etc. is changed from water droplets to water vapor in the atmosphere. That is known as evaporation. Transpiration. Water lost from vegetation cover is known as transpiration. Basically, it is coming from leaves of trees. Evapotranspiration. The total amount of water coming from evaporation plus transpiration is known as evapotranspiration. Then condensation. Air temperature decreases with height. As water vapor is carried upward by air, it is cooled, leading to condensation. This is the process by which water vapor turns to liquid or solid. After that, precipitation is happening. So precipitation is any fall due to gravity. Different forms of precipitations are rainfall, hail, snow, fog, dew, etc. Interception. When precipitation occurs, some are prevented from falling directly on the ground by trees or plants or by built-up region, which is known as interception. Runoff. Water flows over the ground surface, finding its way into rivers and streams known as runoff. And infiltration, that is the direct seepage of water by land surface. And the rate of infiltration differs from place to place, like it depends on soil characteristics, land cover type and slope of the ground. If it is a sandy soil, the infiltration rate will be higher than clay soil. And land cover type, like if it is covered by grasses or trees, then the infiltration rate will be different from a bare land. And the slope of the ground, the infiltration rate is different in plain land or in a steep slope or in a gentle slope. And groundwater flow. Storage of water at underground. After precipitation, a certain portion of it is sipped into the ground and it is stored as groundwater. In general, the term groundwater of subsurface water refers to the water that occurs below the surface of the earth. The main source of groundwater is infiltration. All the processes of hydrologic cycle is explained nicely with the help of a video here. So solar radiation, that is the driving force of hydrologic cycle. Due to solar radiation, water is evaporating from oceans or other water bodies. It's going up, it's forming cloud. It comes back to our surface due to gravity, and there is infiltration process, there is runoff process, again evaporation, again transportation of cloud formation, uh, precipitation, again runoff, and all the processes are going on simultaneously, and it's going on and on and on, and it's a closed loop.